dual citizen of the United States of America
Woot.
and Zambia. I was born in Zambia, Africa. So we have here represented Zambia, Barbados, St. Lucia, Martinique, and Jamaica.
And just the good old USA.
And the good old USA.
UK.
And the UK.
And,
Yeah.
and then their grandpappy, the UK.
So you all came here, and we know the theme this week has to do with Malcolm X. And Ryan did a beautiful job of talking about some of the social challenges that some Black folks have experienced in the UK as well as in the US. And Malcolm X was an incredible social justice figure around the world. So let's get into the movie, and then tomorrow Andrea and I are going to talk a little bit about the person and what he means for us in terms of the swing scene currently. So let's talk about this movie.
So I think we should first talk about why these two people in particular are here to talk about the movie and what their the connection to the movie, how they played a part in the creation of this movie.
Yeah.
Shall we start with Brian?
Oh, me? Yeah. I was gonna go this way. Yeah, you know, it's kind of funny, like, I talked about certain experiences of my race and the British experience, but of course I experienced other aspects of that going to America. This was, have you all seen Malcolm X? The movie? Yeah.
How many of us have seen it?
Wonderful. Well, this was kind of like the early 90s, and like there hadn't been many opportunities to show like big dance scenes in movies, I think, for a while. And I was doing what I normally do. I would call Frankie Manning when I was thinking that I was going to turn up in New York. Usually I'd do a phone call and I'd say, "Hey Frankie, I'm going to be in New York. What you doing?" And Frankie's always doing something interesting. That's why I would always call, because he kind of answered and he said, "Well, you know, I'm kind of busy. I'm working on a movie right now." I'm like, "Okay." And he said, and then he sort of thought about it for a second, and he was like, "Maybe you should be in that movie too." And I'm like, "Yeah. Let's start with that." So Frankie's like, let me go talk to some of them, because they've been in rehearsal already I think it'd been in rehearsal like 2 months almost before I turned up.
When you came, I was with Frankie and Otis Lee and the rest of us.
Yeah.
We were still auditioning dancers at that time. Spike Lee went up there and was auditioning dancers out in California, Chicago, New York, all over the place. And he also was doing auditioning dancers in Europe to play in this movie.
Yeah.
I think I'll say about this about Otis Lee, and Malcolm X, and stuff like that, is that
Otis Salid is the official choreographer.
choreographer.
Oh.
Although he was an official choreographer, he didn't know a lot about Malcolm X, the first, you know. And so I came out of a place called Savoy Ball.
Anybody heard of it?
Show of hands on the Savoy Ballroom. Heard about this? Okay.
Lindy out.
Should be more hands.
They used to call me, what I admire, I'll say, what people knew me for, they said I was, came out of Savoy Ball, but I feel this way. Oh, this one, I got this in my hand. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, right.
This is a little bit, I know it's out of the way, but I want to explain about how I got involved in all this mess. Yeah. So, Frankie called me up and told me, he said, you know, they auditioning thing, why don't you come down at ABT? the dancers go with the audition and stuff like that. I said, I'll come down and see what y'all doing. But I ain't auditioning for nobody. Because at that time, I had a little name, I thought it. So when I walked inside the place, Spike went up there and said, "Oh, you auditioning such and such?" And Frankie Manning said, "What you doing here?" I said, "I'm in." And he said, "You don't have to audition for nothing. Sit down here at the table." So I sat at the table with all the other big wigs, and watch all these so-called dancers come inside.
Just the cream of the crop of Broadway
And
dancers,
I
so-called
which was
Broadway
funny.
dancers.
Which was funny is that you had all these dancers auditioning. Some of the best dancers at that time, I would say that it would be black or et cetera like that, would be from with the little which was in that's what happens when you get old, I see it in front of me.
And then the bus goes, right?
Alvin
Ailey.
Alvin Ailey.
Alvin Ailey dancers.
Yeah.
That's right. So they about 10 of them.
Yes.
The guys
Yeah.
came down, and you gotta see these guys. I mean, they built, and they boys and everything. Oh, I got it here. And now I go back to there, and they look good. So we an audition them. So we play a little music, and we tell them, "Give me a kick." So usually, if you tell somebody to give you a kick, they would kick to this here, right? And these guys tell them to kick, and they kick up here. And I mean, they were fantastic dancers, but we could never use them because they didn't have no concept of rhythm because they're used to modern jazz. So it's a different concept in dancing than what we wanted them to do. And that's what happened with Alvin Ailey. And that's where I really met Loverboy over here.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, And it was
I believe
weird.
you would like to be referred to as Ryan. But
When I first met him, it was weird because he has that accent, And I said, wait, and a lot of people think I come from the South, and I don't. I'm a West Indian, and they can't believe it because I don't have an accent, West Indian accent. I have more of a Southern accent, which I never been. I don't go down South because I don't want to explain that to you in the South. I don't. That's not my thing. Yeah.
Speaking of how Ryan speaks, can I ask you a question about the movie and a certain main character from the movie and what they called you?
Oh. Well, actually, Denzel used to call me English. Hey, English. Hey, English. Because he actually sat next to me and he was like, "You're kind of a little different from everyone else here. I hear you talking. You're not one of us, And I'm like, "Yeah." He says, "You're English," and he says, and I'm like, "Yeah." So he was like, "Where are you from?" And I'm like, "I'm from the East End of London." And he's like, "Oh, that's cool," because just before Malcolm X, and you can check this, Denzel had made another movie, and it was actually set in the East End of London. So he had been practicing his East End accent to make this movie. So here's this black English guy from the East End, and they, I'm sorry, Americans tend to always do this when they find out that you're an English person, but you're also from the East End. They go, "All right, governor, top of the morning to you." And I'm like, okay, that's kind of great if I was living in the time of Jack the Ripper and, maybe Dick Turpin or something like that. But I'm kind of like, we did build like houses and, there are cars in England now, all that stuff. So top of the morning to you doesn't quite do it. So Denzel Washington, that's how we started off. "How you doing, governor?" I'm like, okay, that's kind of cool. And the only reason why, like, he called me English, because he kind of liked me, I guess. And he liked being a dancer. Like, Denzel would absorb whatever it is that he had to do. He turned out being one of the best dancers in the group. Everything you see him do is not someone doing it, and then you see the face of Denzel. Denzel is laying out round the back snatch and all of that stuff, take after take with the dancers, because, you know, as you know, like, I've done a lot of kind of film, TV, music video, blah, blah, blah work. And so I know the usual process of when you're filming dance, even on camera, how you do it. Then, like, malcolmx is very unique. They would make us do the full 3-minute number from the beginning to the end, full out, because it has to look the same as if we've only ever done it once, like all day. We must have done that number about 30 times, like back to back. And there's Denzel in the middle with us doing the same thing. And he just liked hanging around with the dancers. So he'd be a bit of a joker. You know, do you remember when he put all the cigarettes in his fingers? Like, put like 50 cigarettes and he lit them all and he went, I'm a dancer. I'm a dancer. Yeah. So my accent caused a lot of problems. I turned up for rehearsals in the first day, and these guys had already been working there. First, it wasn't just meeting you, Sonny. It was actually really the first time I really connected to Dawn Hampton. Just like that first day when I walked in, Dawn had a black leather kind of skull cap, a black leather top, a black leather pair of pants, running into black leather shoes, and she's just sitting there all the time going, spook. I'm like, what does a spook mean? And she's like, it's oops backwards. Dawn was watching the dancing, and it's all these Broadway dancers, and Frankie and you must have taught them to do a jam circle. So they get in this jam circle, like, halfway through the day, it's jam circle time. A bit like now, everyone goes jam circle instead of some natural version of it. It's like at 12 o'clock, the jam circle will appear. So, like, you know, malcolmx is like that. They jam circle. And all the dancers will come out and they do their little pieces of choreography, and Dawn will be like, spoon. Spoon. No.
But what was nice about Malcolm X, not Malcolm, but Denzel, is that when they shot the film on him, doing those air steps. A lot of people didn't realize he had a back problem.
Yeah.
He wore a brace when he was doing that, which usually our artists at his magnitude, you wouldn't have him go up there and do that part. They would have a stunt double at all times. But that's the thing. Then all of a sudden, I was talking with Denzel, you know, and he said, you know what, I need to get another pair of shoes. You know, where can I get a pair of shoes at? I said, you might Capizio. He said, where Capizio is at? I had to wind up going, take him to Capizio so he could buy a pair of shoes to go up there and go to ABT. You know, that's where I had a thing with him.
I want to ask you what you thought of Spike Lee's dancing.
I don't want to talk about. Let me say this. There's a whole lot of people that were in that show that were good, and there was a whole lot of people that wasn't good. It's the idea that they learned how to do street dancing in the street. What we were doing up at Savoy was not that. So the idea is that although it was a long time, we didn't have time to teach them how to think. dancing. You understand? The most important thing was they were used to out in the street. It wasn't John Brown or Chick Weber now. They would dance on 4/4 time. So if they dance on 4/4 time, another thing, the drummer kept the timing. So the drummer kept the timing, and all y'all are dancers, so you'll notice. They would go boom, 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 right? Now when you do that, what do your body do? Right? But when you swing in 2/4. When you swing 2/4, the music's not going this way, it's going this way. That's the difference. And what keeps the tempo is not the drums, is the bass.
Yeah.
The bass keeps the time, but the drum plays syncopation off the bass line. Now, I told you that, y'all don't know what I'm talking about anyway, I understand. But this is the thing that they do. And they're fantastic at it. But I think that's a thing that everybody should learn. If you agree with me or not, I don't know.
I don't
Papa.
have to agree with you because you're my senior by far. So whatever you say is correct,
But
and whatever I say is
you're
not.
the entertainer as far as the dancer goes.
Oh,
I'm old now, you know.
Sonny, you cut records, man. You
Yeah.
had like a leading kind of, and you calling me the entertainer? I don't have any of that stuff.
Yes, you do.
Okay, I might have some.
Let's settle it this way.
Right.
Who danced at the Savoy Ballroom? Raise your hand.
I'm the only one, I think. Did anybody ever go to the Savoy Ballroom here? Anybody? Let me explain. The Savoy Ballroom was on 97th Avenue. You know, it was on 96th Avenue. I think it would be 141st Street. It took a whole block. The Savoy had 3 names. The Land of the Happy Feet, the Track, and the Savoy. That's what we used to call it. If you heard somebody say, I'm going to the track, you knew they was going to the Savoy. They didn't go up there and say, I'm going to the Savoy is the last thing they would say they was going to. You know. The Savoy, another thing about the Savoy is that you never see a girl take her shoes off in the Savoy Ball. You know, you usually go to a dance club, after about a half hour or so, your feet hurt, and you take your shoes off and you start dancing, you know, because you're dressing. It's not sneakers. You can't wear sneakers in the Savoy Ball. They had heels and everything else. So that's what they used to do in the Savoy, you know. And I don't be just like Biden. Yes, no. Biden, you know, after he gets around, he goes, I forgot what I thought to transfer.
I do actually have a question about that related to the movie.
Yeah.
So when we were talking about this and just talking about life and the Malcolm X movie, you said something really interesting to me. They were trying to replicate the Savoy Ballroom. They were trying to replicate that time. But can you tell us a little bit about the costume choices for the movie?
Oh, forget about that. That part is really bad. First, I'll say this. In the Savoy, the reason why, what I was on before, the reason why women getting tired of dancing in the Savoy is because the floors in the Savoy had springs underneath the floor. So the floor gave like this, so you didn't carry it that way. All other ballrooms had regular floors like here. This is hard. Well, it bothers your feet. But in the Savoy, it used to give. So that's why you didn't have that problem. Now, as far as What?
The costume, like the
Oh,
things that they chose
I
to
would-
wear in the movie.
I was, they was getting ready to go up there and do the costumes and everything else. And so I'm sitting down there, and they bring out about 4 or 5 different suits and say, well, which one do you want? And I looked at them and I said, no. I didn't say nothing. They said, well, we'll get some more. And the suits they were wearing were pink, blue, orange, yellow, all kind of funny colors, you know. And then they had the hat with a big plume feather and all that junk. And I'm looking at all this stuff, and I'm saying, we didn't dress like that in Civil War or in Harlem, you know. And I got to the point where I used to, I don't know if it was good or bad. I felt bad because when they made this Malcolm X, I looked at it more as a documentary of a movie. So I wanted it to be authentic. But the way they had it portrayed, it reminds me of the 1910, where you had what they used to call Little Black Sambo. We used to wear all this funny colors in that. You didn't dress around in Savoy or in Harlem like that, or else they'll run you out of there. Cab Calloway wore things with suits. He didn't dress like that out in the street. The only time he wore clothes like that is when he was on stage. But people got the impression that all black people dressed that type way. And I told Otis to leave, and I told Frankie, man, hey Frankie, man, look, why can't we just have a regular plain black suit or gray or something like that? And Frankie said, well, you can't do that. You know, they want this on the music industry. And I used to talk about it. He finally went and told me, he said, look, let me tell you something. They're doing this movie, you want to do it? And if you don't want to do it, fine. If you want to do it, take the money and run. That's all. But a lot of the movie that they had is sort of authentic to the Malcolm X history, but some of it is not. Where they showed some of the scenery that they had was not where it was supposed to be at. When you saw them when we did that whole ballroom scene, it wasn't done in New York. That ballroom scene, actually the ballroom that they're talking about was in Boston.
Yeah.
You see? But people think it was done here in New York. It wasn't. You know, but they showed at that time the Apollo Theater and the movie theater and all that stuff there. They try to duplicate that at that time. You know. So, for Small Town, as is known, it was done in another area than what they had it at. And if you're out of town, you wouldn't know that. But because I was out of Harlem, I knew those different places like that. And I was a pain in the neck, but I just wanted everything to be right, you know.
So why do you think it is that they made those decisions to kind of mix up the locations and bring in some like maybe iconic places that didn't really belong in that setting?
Some of it would be good, but some of it, I don't think they had to do it that way. You know, if you want to know the history of Malcolm, Malcolm came from the South, but he was basically out of Boston,
Right.
and he used to be trained. He used to ride on trains, and serve food on the train when he came to New York. You know, everybody tried to figure out Malcolm X, his real name. Everybody know that, but the trouble is, they didn't call him that inside Harlem. He was known as Fifth Avenue Red. That was his name. and he was a pool shark and a pimp. When he came to New York, you know, and that's what he was. And then he wound up getting arrested and everything else, went to jail. He became a Muslim when he was in jail. For, you know, being a Muslim anyway, you know. But he was a fantastic person. Talk to him with his life. I used to love to see him go on, there was a radio show? Shit, that's
Ed Sullivan.
no, there was a radio show that the guy
it's
used to
TV
go up there and try and,
radio, okay.
huh?
No, sorry, ignore me. I'm
He
just talking.
he would try to, they used to always bring Malcolm X on the movies, on the radio, to try and show that he didn't know what he was talking about. And Malcolm would make all these characters be fools. And I mean, they brought doctors, lawyers, and everything else, talking about Africa and everything else. And Malcolm just took all of them down. And the more he did that, the more they came. That's what made Malcolm X. Look, hey, Malcolm X. You know. And it's right,
Well, can I have a go at
What?
like answering that kind of movie story?
Right.
Because in all honesty, like, you know, in truth, movies make mistakes all the time. That's why they're movies. They're not documentaries. They are reflecting something that they have to do a balance between real life and fantasy, even when they're telling a true story. And they're always only as good as the researchers and the actual understanding of the director of, like, even the history of the things that they're doing. For me, there's a misconception that, like, the color of your skin makes you automatic reflex means that you know all black history and that you know all the correct ways of, like, delivering it. You know, black people come in all different shapes and sizes and in knowledge of even their own stuff. And what I got from it is that, like, actually, I don't think that, like, Spike really knew how people dress, and he was tapped into the same stereotypes that, like, everybody else had, you know, because they do a walking scene as they're going in. You know what I'm saying, right? I'll call it a walking scene where they're doing a pimp walk, okay?
And the more he gets off beat, I'm like, yes,
Well,
Spike Lee off beat.
My favorite Spike Lee story is that, like, Spike was, you know, I grew up thinking that, like, black people, even if they can't dance, they can dance, if that makes sense.
man, that's
Yeah, all right. But Spike was the first person I saw that was a black man that really cannot dance. I mean, this man invented new ways of being bad at dancing.
well, he had a friend to do.
I know, he was
Marmalou Parks.
Yeah, well, okay, we won't go there, but, like, the thing is that, like, and this is a true thing, and I might have to put the microphone down to do it. I watched Spike Lee standing in a corner for the better part of an hour, and you'd think that he'd have something more important to do being the director of the movie, but he liked being in that dance scene as well, and he couldn't really do anything. So if you still watch the movie, you'll see him running like this, then you'll see him running back again like that, and then there's, you know, got the lady chasing him. Hey, Shorty, come on, and
When
like that, because that's the best dancing you're gonna see Spike Lee do. Anyway, he got it into his head that he wanted to work out how to do a step, and this was the step I'm gonna show.
Oh, buddy.
Spike Lee stood for 1 hour going. I'm like, this guy don't know what we do at all. That's true.
Always have.
So if you're at that level, let's say, because often in movies, movie directors don't know dance. They know acting, they know music, they know all those elements, but they lost that art. You know, there was an era where they knew dance, but they don't know dance anymore. So he went to stereotypes. And so when they started doing their pimp walk, with big feathers in their hats, it, you know, and often I found that, like, you know, at least in the things that I've done, often you get blamed by your own community. Well, why did you do it that way? Well, because I get to do what I'm told. That's why I did it that way. But like, to me, that like there was a large gap of understanding actually the cultural stuff that went on with the dances. And so they fell into these little spots where they actually lost track of reality and started making stereotypes. And I don't think it was intentional. I think it was actually their level of ignorance of the things that they don't know about literally their own culture.
Well, a lot of them, the directors and everything else out of Malcolm X movie came out of California. And so therefore, a lot of times, they know out there how things are done, but not like here in New York. You know, so you run into that problem too, you know. And then, which one? Sharpton. Al Sharpton was in that too, you know. Now, I met Al Sharpton on that picture and everything else. But where they had that part with Al Sharpton, that is not where Al Sharpton used to be at.
Yeah.
Because I used to watch him when I was a kid.
Okay.
He used to be in front of Herbert's Diamonds.
Okay.
That was the name of the store. That now it's a state office building. You see? And they had a big riot at one time, way before then. But that's where that was done, and where Malcolm taught that. You know? But they had it done, that Herbert's Diamond was moved all the way down to 26th Street. And, you know, and it was strange, you know, looking. You know, well, and that's why.
Uncle Sonny, you said something that really resonates with me about the current. We have about 10 minutes. The current understanding of our culture, and Ryan, you just talked about this, that just because you're black doesn't necessarily mean you have a deep understanding of history or even culture. And so, but you say something, and it's related to dancing, but then also to the great figure, Malcolm X, which is, you don't know where you're going if you don't know.
Yeah, well, Malcolm, I first,
Where you came from.
I didn't get it from Malcolm, but I'll tell you frankly, the person that really taught me that was a guy by the name of Mario Bowser. Mario Bowser came from Cuba. His brother-in-law and his sister was Machito and Graciela. Well, we was inside the dressing room one night, and we talking. Mario one day told me something I know forgot. After I show you, and I tell him, I meant to show you that thing every time I see you. In order to know where you're going, you got to know where you came from. If you don't, it don't make sense. You know, that's the most important thing. A lot of people do things and don't know why they do it. Try and learn. That comes from your history. Your history is the thing that defines you as a person, you know? And that's what I try to tell my people when I teach dancing and everything else. In order to do it, especially in Latin, they go up there and talk to me, and I said, well, look, I know this. They say, how you know that? I said, because I learned. You listen to the elders, they tell you. But now these kids, they don't want to learn that. They just figure I can do anything. You know? They hear music and they're gone. And they don't think, the most thing they think in dancing is doing it fast. No, do it slow. When you're dancing with a girl, have a conversation. You don't have to dance fast. It's better dances slow and look into her eyes. If she looks, you have that conversation back and forth. That's the best part of dancing, you know? And you don't have to say a word. But when she starts talking, she's lying.
Wait. Wait a minute.
This is true.
Cut his mic. Cut his mic right now.
This is true.
But I
Everything's
do
done. Just go home now.
I do have to say something. I do have to say
Red
something.
alert, red alert.
To redeem Uncle Sonny. Uncle Sonny was showing me a simple step. It was just a da 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 da. And in that moment, all I wanted to do was dance. Because the way he looks at you, the way he is fully committed to every moment, even in like, this is the reason why you're one of the greats.
I no great. Y'all make you look good. How can you do wrong when you see a woman? I have a woman in front of me and I'm dancing. We're having that conversation. And while we're out on that floor, the place can be packed jams. But nobody's there. It's just me and her. You make her feel that way. When you want her to do a turn, you don't have to tell her to turn. What happened?
Denzel wanted to join us.
You know, when you dance, you know, guys, when you got a girl in your arms, she wants to know that she's secure. She wants to know no matter what she does, you're gonna be there to hold her up. Once she starts to think about you, what you want her to do, you'll never dance with her. You understand? Let her be free. If she's free, it's easy to move. And when you do that, look at her. Stop looking around the floor to see if somebody else is watching you dance. Because that's no good. She wants you to be in her eyesight. And if you do that, you could have a ball, man. Yeah. And me, I'm too old now. You know. But, I mean, am I right? Huh?
I like that.
She
All right.
did, right?
I actually,
Am I lying?
Sounds great.
I like it.
That's
Yeah.
it, you know.
Sorry, in the spirit of that, I wanted to say one thing. Like, there's this thing behind us here with Denzel, and we talked about Denzel, and I feel really bad because I've forgotten this lady's name.
Who is that?
She's the actress that's actually starred. She played his, estranged. I think she married her and then divorced or whatever. But this actress also was pulling out all that Lindy Hop. She learned it, from scratch, and I don't remember the name. And it seems to be endemic of something that we do. We talked about Denzel, but we didn't talk about her. And she's right there, right behind us. So let me apologize for that.
I think it's
Exactly.
Angela Bassett.
No, it's not.
No, not
I'd like it to be. Angela's like super, but it's not. It's not.
I feel like
Yeah.
we need to start wrapping.
Yeah.
We have about 4 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, you said that. You said that a minute ago.
What?
Well, now it's okay. We got a bonus minute back. 5 minutes.
There you go.
Oh, we do?
Yeah.
Why?
Because you're so great.
No. I like it here. Don't you like it here? You have, I tell you what, do you have any questions? Do you have any questions?
No.
It's on Angela.
Angela?
No,
No, it's not Angela Bassett, trust me.
No, it's not Angela Bassett.
I was there. It was
All right,
not
homework,
Angela
y'all.
Bassett.
Homework. Y'all gotta watch this
I
movie.
think it's Teresa
Watch the
Randall.
movie.
It's
Yeah.
It wasn't
Teresa.
a big name.
It's Teresa Randall.
Yeah,
That's
I've seen her in
all.
other things, but yeah, Angela Bassett signed to him much later in the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Now that we got that straight, we got 2 Malcolm X movie facts in there.
Yeah.
But I think that there is a question. There's a question
normal.
Oh no.
Oh.
Because
Okay, so I've seen the dance sequence million times, and if you watch the scene closely, that there's so many jazz steps I recognize.
Yeah.
And I just wonder because all this not coming from the background. And I wonder, is it either you, Ryan, or Sonny, or Frankie associate the choreography? I want to know who's actually
story of my life kind of thing, right? I don't know whether she does.
What?
Well, I think it's kind of combination of things actually, because when I came in, the other thing that Dawn said in her kind of swearing way is like, "Thank Christ you're here. Now you can show them how to really dance." What they had on malcolmx is they had a lot of pastiches of movement that, like, actually I think Frankie and probably you had shown those dancers, and then they had been left to their own devices to kind of make little routines, But when I came in, firstly I didn't have a partner. No one wanted to dance with me. Because they're like, how could this Englishman with the name Francois know anything about Lindy Hop? So I couldn't even get a partner. It was like, okay, no one wanted
You know
to
who my
dance
partner
with me.
was, right?
Well, you was with Dawn, wasn't you?
Dawn Hanson.
Yeah, you was with Dawn.
Now, I'm old, right? Dawn is old. You remember the woman he was talking about with the black and everything? That's who I've danced with in the movie Malcolm X.
Sonny.
Yeah.
My moment.
She wanted to dance with you.
Step down this. I know she did. Everyone wants to dance with me. That's the thing. Okay, but no.
Yeah.
But no, there was a lot of accidents. They were doing air steps, but they were doing them without real knowledge. And one of the dancers, her name was Frances, she did the ace in the hole.
Yeah.
And went up there, did it the wrong way and started doing down the back, but they didn't know what down the back was, so she connected with the floor with her face. So yeah, I'm gonna mess you up now. Her teeth went through her bottom lip. And it actually, it worked out. It meant that we got double kind of danger money for They actually said that, like, air steps are hazardous, therefore they're going to pay us more in order for us to do them. But they discovered in me as someone who actually knew how to do those things. And so pretty soon I found myself fixing people's routines and adding air steps to it and so on. Because this is a common practice in movies and actually in the industry. Often the person who's the choreographer, they just have a reputation, a good resume. It doesn't mean that they're actually good at everything that they are brought to choreograph. And in this case, Otis Salid had no idea whatsoever about anything to do with Lindy Hop. So essentially all the movements and the steps were either taken from us or taken from the other dancers, and we pretty much put ourselves together. What he did was he was like a grand creator of like a big grand design. Let's do that all in a big circle. Let's do that all jumping over there. But the details really came from the dancers themselves, and mainly there was large contributions from people like me and like Sonny. Let's turn off.
Hello? Is it on?
Is that and our time?
It's the Oscars again, right? It's the Oscars. Okay, walk off.
It's on.
Right.
I think you're trying to tell us something.
I think so. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
about time.
I hate to say that, Oh, you turned it off, right?
Test, test, test.
No, I didn't tell
Yes, you did.
Go back.
What? Okay. I gotta blame her, She's bigger than us, so I blame her all the time, right?
All right. Well, this is the first sort of half.
Hello?
Oh, I got it
There's
back.
that.
Yeah.
All right. So this was the first half of the Malcolm X discussion. So today we talked a little bit about the movie. Tomorrow we'll talk a little bit more about his life and sort of the connections between our current or modern Lindy Hop today and how we kind of I don't know, intersect or interact, interface with our community versus, or maybe draw some parallels between our maturation in this space and Malcolm X's in the U.S. So we want to thank Ryan and Sonny for their recollections of their work on the movie.
Yeah, and I.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I also.
Uncle Sonny and Lover Boy.
I also realized that we didn't have a full introduction. So this is Andrea Gordon,
Hi.
the amazing Andrea Gordon. Spend some time with us tomorrow, talking more about this, and bring your questions as well. We want to hear from you and engage with you as well. All right?
Thank you.
Thank you.